Better now? Are we better now? Yes, we're better now. Would help if I turned the right microphone on, wouldn't it? What can I say? I'm having a technical foobar today. So, hopefully now you can actually hear me, see me, and everything looks the way it should do and sounds the way it should do. If you could let me know if everything is all working okay now. Everything should be back up and running the way it should supposed to be. So please do let me know if everything looks and sounds okay. My levels are looking pretty good from this side of things. So I'm hopeful that everything will be all working fine. Let's just tweak that. So yeah, please do let me know if everything looks and sounds okay. Yep, thank you very much. Suluna, thanks for letting me know. Peggy Power, hopefully it is all working for you now that you can hear everything, and there's a little bit of lag time between the two is all okay. Yep, thank you very much. Cheers, Ruben. Cheers, my favorite Mr. Fairy Cake. That's an awesome name. I like that. Gabrielle, good to see you as well. Hope you're doing well. So this is basically just a last-minute live to kind of talk about a couple of things to do with bricks, about my live stream tomorrow with Thomas, which I'm incredibly excited about. So if you don't know, Thomas is the lead developer and the guy behind Bricksbuilder and also Happy Files. And this will be the first time he's ever done a live interview or a live stream with anybody. So I'm incredibly excited to see how that goes tomorrow and talk to Thomas about all things to do with bricks, the business, and maybe even get some of the future and what's going to happen inside Bricksbuilder in the near future. So fingers crossed that'll be without a hitch tomorrow, that I'll have the right microphone turned on and everything else is good. So thank you, Andy. Yep, go and get those headphones back out of the bin. Unless, of course, when you put them on, they still sound like poop, at which point I chuck them back in the bin then. Okay, so who do we have in today? Just do a couple of quick welcomes and say hellos. And thank you very much to the person that gave the thumbs down just because there was a technical issue. Let's counteract that individual or put a thumbs down. If you do enjoy today's live stream and you like what I do on the channel, what I'm doing here today, give it a thumbs up and we'll just say, who cares about that thumbs down individual? Kiss my on-air sign. Anyway, Teet, good to see you in. Christian, thank you very much for joining in. Victor, Formation Femme, Islam, Jean Thompson, Piero, Ruben, good to see you back in again. Black Eye Studio, Max, always a pleasure to see you. Alberto, Wuta, thanks for joining in. It's been quite a while, so hopefully you are doing well and everything is okay with you. Alberto, thank you very much for joining in. C's, thank you very much. Manhal, L, let's have a little look who else we have here. Ruben, I think I said hello, but if not, another hello to Ruben. Goran, good to see you in as well. Alex, thank you for joining in. Paul, thanks for joining in. Like I say, Mr. Fairy Cake, awesome name, like that one. Sajad, hopefully I said that correctly. Gabriel, good to see you in as well. Angel, thank you very much for joining in. Daniel, OGC Digital, Peggy Power, Soluna. Anybody else I need to say hello to? Andy Tate, good to see you in as well. Daniel, thanks for joining in. Thanks very much. Hey, Maxim, hope you're doing well. Hope everything's going well for you. Atif, thank you very much for joining in as well. And Exterminatic. I think I said that right anyway. If not, I do apologize, but if I didn't, no, it's all good. Jaden, good to see you in as well. Manny, Khalid, thank you very much for joining in. It's good to see so many new faces as well as some old faces in the chat today. Now, as always, let me just quickly go over how things work. If you've got a question for me during this, what will be a relatively short live stream today, please just put hashtag Q, that's hashtag Q for question, and I'll do my very best to answer as many of those as I possibly can. Just makes my life a little easier for searching. Okay, so first of all, before I go any further, before we start talking about anything else, I just want to quickly say that if you don't know, tomorrow at 3 p.m. GMT, that's British time, I've got an interview with Thomas, the lead developer and, as far as I'm aware, owner of Bricksbuilder. This is the first live stream he's ever done and the first sort of live interview that he's ever done as well. So I'm incredibly excited about that. And if you've got any specific questions, by all means, let me know and I will do my best. I've got a list of questions that I want to ask Thomas and lots of questions that have been sort of submitted. Obviously, I probably won't be able to get to every one of them because I want to keep the stream to about an hour so we don't take up too much of Thomas's time. But I know he's excited to talk about bricks, the future, and all those kinds of things. So that will be fun. So if you don't know about it, I'll just pop this up on screen. Let me just make sure I've got the right scene on. All you need to do is just go over to the WPTuts channel on YouTube and simply you'll find this live stream. You can notify me and it'll notify you as soon as that's due to go live. But like I said, I'm incredibly excited to take a look at having that chat with Thomas. So by all means, please do be notified of that to be kept up to date with what's going on there, and hopefully many of you will join in tomorrow for our live stream and be involved in the chat and just kind of get an idea what's happening with bricks in the future and all those kinds of good things. So that's tomorrow at 3 p.m. GMT. That's British time. Okay? Pretty cool. Okay, Alex, anything Cwicly related coming up? I've got nothing specific planned, but there's been so many things that have changed in Cwicly over the last, let's say, 6 months that I do want to take a sort of look over it and take a look at the changes that have been brought in, like the CSS grid and those kinds of things. And also, probably about a year, 18 months ago now, I did a live stream with Louis, the developer behind Cwicly. So I might actually reach out to Louis again and see if we can kind of arrange something, because it was interesting to see where he was going with that. But I'd love to see what sort of, how their roadmap has been realized, what they're looking for in the future, you know, how things are going with Cwicly in general, because I think that would be a really interesting conversation. So if you think something like that would be interesting, by all means, do let me know in the chat. And also, if you're watching this on catch-up, let me know in the comments section if you'd like me to see if I can arrange another chat with Louis from Cwicly. And also, if you'd like me to take a look at covering Cwicly in some videos as well, and taking a look at some of the features that have been added into it since the last time I took a look at it. Because I know a lot of people are really excited about Cwicly, and it's kind of like, you've got a lot of people excited about Bricks Builder, and those that kind of want to stay a little bit more inside the Gutenberg native ecosystem. Cwicly is the direction they're absolutely going in. Alongside GreenShift, that's picking up a lot of momentum as well. So as always, if you've got things like that you'd like me to take a look at covering, please do let me know in the chat, in the comment section if you're watching on replay, or if you're part of the WPTuts crew over on the Facebook group, then also get involved there and let me know you'd like me to cover things. It's always good to know. Okay. Yeah, all I can say is Louis does have an incredibly good voice. It's to be honest, I thought he was English to start off with a very posh accent, but they actually live in Cyprus, which funnily enough is exactly where Thomas lives. Not in the same place, I'm pretty sure, but in the country of Cyprus. So yeah, that's yeah, he does have a very cool, very suave, sophisticated voice, very soothing. So yeah. Okay. Love that interview. Would be great to have another one. Exactly, Alex. Like I say, Louis is a very smart guy, very switched on guy. He's got some really great ideas about what he wants to do and the sort of future of it. And he listens. You know, this is one of those things that people say, like, you know, why do you like bricks and what is it makes bricks, you know, sort of resonate with you? One of the key things for this is that I think it's refreshing to have someone like Thomas and the people behind Bricks that listen to the community, take on board criticism and feedback, and implement things to make it actually better. And Louis from Cwicly is also very, very much the same kind of way. I know that there was Adam Lowe leveled a few sort of criticisms at various different aspects of accessibility and so on inside Cwicly. And Louis went away and within the space of a week or two had addressed a lot of those, if not all of those, released some updates, and that kind of gives you a little bit more trust and faith in a company, I think. It's definitely one thing like that I think is very, very important. Okay, Max, I do stand corrected. I thought Louis was in Cyprus, but okay, Mallorca, it's all warmer than it is in the UK right now anyway, so that's got to be a good thing for them, not so much for me. What did we have? Sajad, I'm new to Bricks. What are the differences between Bricks and Elementor? First of all, I would suggest you go and take a look at the video I released, I think it was last week or maybe the week before, which is Bricks versus Elementor. It's not a head-to-head kind of thing. It's more a case of taking a look at the similarities that both of these tools share, but then later on talking about some of the things that separate them. So one of the things that I would say, if you are, you want a very, very quick overview of the differences, the one main difference that once you understand how it works and you embrace this kind of like technology, you will never look at a tool like Elementor in its current state in the same way again. And like I said, this isn't a bash on Elementor. This is just simple fact of if you've got a class-first design tool like we have with Bricks, which means you can have global classes and so on, making changes, updates, all those kinds of things become something that can easily be handled in a couple of seconds, whereas where you have everything is templated or you've got widgets and you've got sort of like, a different way of working which doesn't involve global classes, you don't have the same level of flexibility and things are not as easy to update. That to me is one of the key differences that you have between Bricks and Elementor. The other thing that I would say is if you want to work with tools like Advanced Custom Fields, Metabox and so on, and some of the more advanced features, things like repeater regions, nested repeaters, all those kinds of things, you can't do that natively inside Elementor Pro. You will need third-party plugins like Dynamic.000 or Anywhere Elementor, I think is another one that allows you to do it, whereas that is all natively supported in Bricks Builder itself. And there's lots of other little things, but for me, those are the two biggest differences that draw me to Bricks as opposed to working with Elementor, especially when I want to work on anything more than a sort of like a little simple website, because once you need to make global changes, you very quickly realize that can be time consuming and slow inside a tool like Elementor. And like I said, I'm not specifically picking on Elementor. I'm just talking about any tools that don't have a class first design setup will always be slower to work with and slower to update and make changes than something that does have a class first design system built into it. Hopefully that answers the question anyway. Do we already know if Crocoblock will offer the whole tool set for Bricks in the near future, or will they be a main Elementor company? I think Crocoblock, while they can make things like the search and filtering and the jet engine and the forms filter, the forms plugin and so on, those can work outside of Elementor because they've factored that in now because it's kind of working with semi-native WordPress functions. I think when you take a look at other things like, I don't really know what other tools they've got in the Crocoblock suite because I've never really used them, but that is the one with the blog setup and things like that. I don't see those changing over. And to be honest, I don't financially see there's any point in those changing those things over. I think they're much smarter to work with, Jet Engine, Jet Smart Filters, Jet Search, Jet Form Builder. And there's another one because there's 5 that they've got that are now going to work with Bricks. I think that is what they're going to focus their efforts on for something like Bricks and maybe certain aspects to go over to Gutenberg. Jet Engine works with Gutenberg, Form Builder works with Gutenberg. I think Jet Smart Filters and Jet Search also work with Gutenberg. I don't see those changing over to things like, Breakdance or just other tools. I think that wouldn't be a good use of their resources. So I would see it's going to be a smaller, limited set on what you can use outside of the Elementor setup. Maxim, you wouldn't sell it even if they asked you to buy it. You know that. Hey, Els, how you doing? I would say there's going to be at least 10 zeros, but unfortunately they're all going to be at the beginning of the number, not at the end. So unfortunately, I think you're going to have to keep on developing it yourself. Plus, let's be honest, we like independent developers anyway because you can bring a fresh eye to the table. I think that's always a good thing. So I would say keep those zeros in mind, but keep your work to yourself and don't sell it yet. That's what I would say anyway. Okay. Crocoblock does support Bricks now, but not the full Crocoblock suite. I think that's what we're kind of talking about. There's certain parts of it that are, like I say, I think there's 5 plugins that are currently supporting Bricks, but the rest of them don't support Bricks at this point in time. What we got? Question for Tom. For Tom for tomorrow. Will Bricks offer a coupon code or other incentive for Elementor 1000 license holders to switch over to Bricks? I would very much doubt it. I think Thomas is very much... He knows his target market. He knows what he's doing. And I don't think he needs to incentivize people to come over from a financial point of view. I think if you are... if you were making money out of this and you were working with it, I think you can probably realize how financially investing in a tool like Bricks, doesn't have to be Bricks, whatever you choose, you prefer, over something that maybe isn't as quick, you will recoup that cost very quickly. And I don't buy into this sort of like, oh, you've got 1,000 licenses, it cost you $200, therefore each license costs you X amount of money. I don't buy into that at all. I think if you kind of look into it, it's like that investment is what it costs you for that particular product, whether it's a lifetime deal, whatever. Most people, if they bought the 1,000 license for something like Elementor, will probably never, ever sell 1,000 licenses with 1,000 websites. Unless you're a big agency and you're pumping things out at a crazy rate, then I really don't see that value sort of like equation works. But I honestly don't see it, Rob. I don't imagine... Just the way that Bricks has priced itself and the conversations that have gone on in sort of about Bricks and the pricing and things like that, and now the new pricing that came on board earlier this week, they've never incentivized other than the bricks pricing for the lifetime deal with the incredible money back guarantee, which I've never really seen anything like that. I think they know exactly what they're doing with the roadmap settings. And I don't honestly think, I've said this before, I don't think Thomas or Bricks as a company, whatever the company name actually is, I don't think they're going after the Elementor market. Breakdance is going after it. I mean, Lewis has been very open that he wants a slice of that Elementor pie. I think Thomas is just looking at creating a great product. And I think that's what he's doing. I think that the people behind it, they create a great product and that sells itself. Is it going to have the same numbers as a tool like Elementor? No, it's not. But I think if that's what they were after, I think they'd have driven things from a marketing perspective a lot harder. I think they'd have an affiliate scheme in place from day dot. And I think there's lots of ways in which they would have driven this to push harder and cut into a bigger slice or take a bigger slice out of Elementor's pie. Like I say, I think that's Breakdance's point of view, and I don't think Bricks is going down that route. Right, what else do we have? Okay. Mr. Fairycake, can you ask Thomas how to fix a laggy Bricks? I love Bricks, but mine is so laggy. Do you have anything else installed on there? Because I use Bricks every day, creating content, creating tutorials, testing things out, setting up my blueprint sites and so on. And I can't say I've ever experienced a laggy dashboard, the actual editor itself. I've never experienced that. So I would question whether that's a local issue, whether it's something you've got set up on your server, whether it's something you've got installed alongside Bricks. I think there's probably a lot of different reasons why you may be experiencing that. But like I say, I can only speak from my own experience and looking at the forums, also the Facebook group and so on every single day. I don't really see many people referring to this. But what I would suggest is, the Facebook group is okay, but there is a dedicated forum that's on the Bricks website that is there for technical support and help and so on. So I would highly recommend go and take a look on there and ask your questions, see if anybody else has already reported this. I think you get much better chance of getting some help and support there than going to just the Facebook group and so on, because you're going to get a million different answers from a million different people's experiences, or 14,000 at least anyway. There's another good sort of thing. Use a browser with no extension specifically for dev work. The other thing I would suggest as well is maybe take a look at trying another browser and see if you experience the same issue. Then if you don't experience the same issue on, like, let's say, for example, a clean copy of Firefox or Brave browser, or any of the Chrome-based browsers where you have nothing installed, you may well find that kind of alleviates the problem, or maybe something that's not a Chrome-based browser, and see, do you still experience the same issue? With things like this, there's always going to be a certain level of fault finding and seeing if it's something that's local to your system or something that's on the server where you've got things running. If you're not using something like local, there's probably 1,000,001 different potential reasons why this could be the case. Okay. Ruben, come on now. You're just trying to sell Breakdance. You're just trying to say Breakdance is better than Bricks and you've got a laggy, similar experience. I know what's going on here. I know what's going on. You are basically undercover for Breakdance. Don't think I even sussed you up, pal. I'm just joking. Or am I? Okay, so. Even if 599 Bricks is insanely cheap if you're using it to make a living. I mean, we've always got to consider the fact that, there are different exchange rates around the world, and that can make it more cost-effective versus more expensive. But I do agree that if you were making money out of something like Bricks, because you've got unlimited, you might not, if you don't have a great exchange rate, you might not make that money back within the first, let's say, maybe even first year. But once you've kind of paid that back, everything else becomes profit. You're not having to pay that annual. And if you can't afford the 599, there's two other ways you could look at it. You can go, I will charge my client for this individual license and then hand off to them and they pay for it every single year and I don't have to worry about it. Or you could get the annual for, I think, is it $249 or $299? Get the annual license and then you have cut your costs by over 50%. Therefore, you can make that money back quicker. And if you find that you move on to something else, you don't have to worry about renewing that license. There's lots of options out there. But yeah, I would say that if you've got the money to do it, getting the lifetime deal is a no-brainer. Shame that the $249 or $299 is gone, But like it's already been said, even at $5.99, I think it presents or represents incredible value for money. And I get no money from it. Like I say, I've got no affiliation with Thomas or anybody else there. I get no money back from any kind of affiliate scheme because they don't have one. So all my opinions when it comes to bricks have no financial implication to me. Take that for what it's worth. Okay. So like I said, at the top of the thing, if you've got any questions for me, hashtag Q for a question, and I can take a look there. I'll have a quick look now if we've got any questions, so bear with me a second. What do we have? Kamel, what's your take on Bricksforge and what would you recommend? I'm not sure what you mean by the recommend side of things, but what's my take on Bricksforge? Bricksforge is a very powerful plugin that opens up a lot of possibilities and expands what you can do with bricks. The only downside, and this is, I think, indicative, is the same with dynamic content for Elementor or any of these more comprehensive tools, there's a lot to learn. So you do have to put the legwork in there. If you take a look at the Pro Forms feature, there's a lot of great options in that particular module, but it does take a fair amount of learning. It's not something you can just put on there and within 5 minutes you'll be up and running, or most of us can't anyway. So for me, it's been one of those things that I think it's a good plugin. I think it's got a lot of potential, but I think you need to look into it to see, is this something that you need? And does it have features in there that you need? If you do, it's worth investing in. If not, then I would say it's probably one of those nice to haves, but not required, unless, like I say, there's something specific you want there. Whether that's the animation with GSAP, whether it's the Pro Forms feature, or any of the other options that it has. If you need it, invest in it. If you don't, well, don't, basically. And I think that's the same with anything, any of these tools. It's not specific to Bricksforge. If you don't need the features that are in there and you're just buying it because you're curious, it can potentially be a lot of money and a lot of time and effort involved in trying it out, spending money and so on. The other thing I would always recommend is, with something like Bricksforge or any of these, is go on to YouTube and search for videos on how to use it. Have a look at tutorials, have a look at features, the updates, the new things that are brought out. Daniel's incredibly good at creating videos about new features that have been brought out, and there are regular new features brought out. It's the same as Maxim with Advanced Thema. Whenever a new update comes out and there's new features in there, they spend the time to create a video that'll show you what those bring to the table, the new features, how to use them and so on, so you can get a feel for it. Doing things like that will give you an idea of, is this a tool, a plugin, a theme, whatever it is, that I could make money from, I need, it has features that I can't live without, at which point you can make a more informed decision. Hope that helps. Okay, what other questions do I have? Could Bricks move outside of WordPress and become a standalone page builder, for example, building for an e-commerce platform? I don't really see that being the case. Could it? Potentially, I suppose, but because it is fundamentally built on top of WordPress, I don't really see them going down that route. I'm assuming you're sort of talking also along the lines of like a cloud platform, like Brizzy, for example, Brizzy Cloud, which doesn't rely upon WordPress. I don't see it. I don't, never say never. I don't know what Thomas has planned for the future or anybody else involved in Bricks itself, but I don't see that being the case. It doesn't come across as being immediately obvious that they're going in that direction in any way at all. But like I said, never say never. You never know. Could potentially happen. Okay, as a new student for Bricks, is automatic CSS and frames a must-have? I don't think specifically automatic CSS or ACSS and frames is the must-have. I think having a framework is very beneficial, and I've said this for a little while now, that if you choose a framework, whether that's automatic CSS, whether that's core framework, whether that's, what's the other one? I can't think of the other one. I don't think it's even being supported anymore. A framework, if you use a framework at the beginning of learning Bricks, while it increases the learning and increases the learning curve a little bit, it will pay itself back very quickly, because it means that once you understand how they work together and how you can leverage the power of a CSS framework, then you can very quickly recoup that time invested in learning it, actually building sites, because you will find you will build a lot faster when you start using global classes, when you start using a framework that allows you to have great blueprint starter sites. But you don't need automatic CSS and you don't need frames. I would say, yes, it was beneficial to have a CSS framework, And I wouldn't worry too much about whether it's frames or whether it's any of the other sort of template sets that you've got out there, whether they're wireframes and so on, because most of them will support both ACSS and Core Framework. And if they don't support Core Framework right now, they will probably be expanded into Core Framework. I would say that they're nice to have and they can speed up your design process, but I still think you need to learn how bricks and a framework work together and get that under your belt before you worry about investing in these sort of, templates, the sort of block templates kind of thing. That's the way I've done it, and that's the way a lot of people that I know have done it, because you need to understand what's going on. Because even though a lot of these templates are really, really good, if you don't understand what's going on, where they've got custom CSS, if they're using global classes to style various different elements and not using global classes for other things, and you don't understand how the global classes are set up to be able to work alongside those templates, you'll just add more complexity and more frustration to your work process. So get to grips with the fundamentals of bricks, understanding how global classes work, and integrating a CSS framework into it, and then worry about anything else afterwards. You'll just have a much more solid foundation to working. But no, like I say, you don't need those, but they are nice to haves in certain respects. Okay. Now, I'm conscious of the fact that I want to make sure this doesn't go on too long, because at 5 o'clock GMT, which is going to be 12 o'clock EST, I'm jumping on a live stream with Matt Medeiros to talk about bricks. And I would share the link with you, but I don't actually have the link for that at the moment. So keep an eye out on the Facebook group and on Twitter and so on. So as soon as I get the link, I'll let you know that. But I'll be jumping on a live stream. Jumping in for Dave Foy, who unfortunately is a little bit under the weather today, who was originally supposed to be doing the live stream with Matt. So Matt's asked me to jump on board and talk about bricks and how that compares to block level plugins like full site editing and those kinds of things. So that should be an interesting conversation. So like I say, as soon as I get information, I will post that up onto Twitter, onto Facebook, and so on. So if you want to jump in and join in the chat this afternoon, by all means, please do, because it'd be lovely to see some of your faces around there as well. Marcel, I can really recommend ACSS and Frames combo. It's boosted my workflow a lot. Not saying it won't boost your workflow, but I think you still need that foundational understanding of how these things work, and then take a look at whether you go for Frames, whether you go for ACSS or Core, whatever you kind of want. Max, honestly, I don't really know at the moment. I need Matt to send me the information over. I don't know if this is going to be specifically recorded, going live out to YouTube, whether it's going to be a Twitter or X feed. I don't know. I literally had a message back off Matt probably half an hour ago. As soon as I find out any more, I'll post some information up. So like I say, keep an eye out on my Twitter account. And if you don't follow me on there, just do a search for WPTuts with a Z at the end, because the S wasn't available. Or jump onto the Facebook page, which is just do a search for WPTuts on there, and you can join up the WP crew. No problem at all. No problem at all. Thanks for the question. Okay. Ben, I picked up Bricks Core Framework and Bricks Maven on Black Friday. Funny enough, so did I, except for Bricks. I'm finding it overwhelming to put things together, as there's a lot to learn. Any tips on getting going? Yeah. For me, the most important thing is to take Bricks Maven out of the equation to start off with and focus just on bricks and just on the core framework. Get yourself comfortable with those and how you sort of apply global classes to the various different elements. It can be incredibly overwhelming to start off with. It really can. But once you kind of get used to it, and once you kind of start to stop thinking about, especially if you come from Elementor, and I know I've been guilty of this, and I did a video the other week where I was pulled up on it, and it was absolutely right. Once you get your head out of the Elementor-y type way of working and start understanding where and when to use global classes, when to use those inside the editor and create your own class, those kinds of things, you will get to grips with it. You'll have that sort of aha moment, and it'll be, oh, right, okay, that's the best way to do it. And once you get that, it's a lot easier. But I think the more things you add into the pipeline, into the workflow, the more things you have to learn, and it can get frustrating. So Ben, to be honest, I would say bricks and the core framework to start off with. Just get yourself comfortable with using a framework. Just do some really simple things like drop in a section within a container, put a heading in there, put some content in, Get used to working with the basics of your text sizing, your spacing, dealing with paddings and margin, and then kind of build up your skill set. Move on to things like, okay, now you can use Flexbox inside your framework, or you can use CSS Grid inside your framework. Understand those things, but start off straight simple, keep it really simple, just so you can kind of get those foundational things, sort of locked into your brain, and then build upon them as you start to understand them. And I think you'll probably find that it won't take very long at all before you get, like I say, that aha moment, things start to click, and then is the time to start adding in extra things, whether that's like Bricks Maven or Frames or anything else that works with your chosen framework or is agnostic. It doesn't really matter which way. Get to grips with those. And to be honest, watch Kevin Geary's PB, Page Builder 101, or watch any of his videos. There's a lot. I mean, most of the videos are like an hour long. And I would say that for me, there's a lot of talking in there that I would rather just get to the point. But it doesn't negate the fact there's a lot of really good information in there. And there is lots of information in there about understanding frameworks, understanding classes, understanding when to use them. And then once you kind of get comfortable with that, then you can look at things like BEM, which is it's just basically a naming convention more than anything that makes it scaling it and working with it a lot easier. But all these things, when you start to try to learn them all at one time, you'll either just give up or you'll just become incredibly frustrated because it just feels like there's information overload. And unless you get those fundamentals, which is bricks and the framework, everything else just adds weight and noise on top of it. Get those fundamentals, then move on and expand your skill set. Hopefully, Ben, that will help. And I will be creating videos on working with core framework, working with bricks. I'll be working on a sort of, probably a masterclass that's going to take you through from a blank page through building everything out for like a landing page or a home page or something like that. That then hopefully will show you some of the things you need to get used to working with core framework, working with bricks, maybe working with something like Bricks Maven, maybe later on down the line, I don't know yet. But I will be creating content specifically on those things. Hey, Anthony T, how you doing? Hope everything's okay with you. Ivo, good to see you as well. What have we got to say? I started with core framework. It's good framework. The problem is it's so open you can fast lose consistency, so I moved to ACSS. You have there also many possibilities to configure this. Look, this is one of those things that I say a lot of the time, is that we are very much open to whatever works with us. What resonates with me might not resonate with the next person and the next person. And this is why I've always been very sort of mindful of the fact that just because I use a tool or just because I've covered a particular tool doesn't mean to say that you have to use it. If core framework doesn't resonate with you, but ACSS does, go with it. None of these are bad products. They all do the same kind of thing. They've got their own quirks. They've got their own ways of working. The one thing I will definitely say that ACSS has over and above what core framework has at this point in time is Kevin Geary. He's pumping out content, and because it's his product, he's focusing on ACSS and frames, which is no bad thing. So if you bought into that, then you've got an abundance of content to help you get up and running a lot quicker than you have with core framework. Sadly, core framework doesn't have the same level of marketing and promotion, and doesn't have someone pushing it as hard. Whether you like that or dislike that is an individual's kind of thing. But I think this is where, if you do want maximum content surrounding a product that you buy into, and it's a choice between core framework and ACSS, ACSS has got a lot more support and help and content and tutorials and guides and things like that. But go with what you like the most, whatever resonates with you. The nice thing with the nice thing with core framework is you can try it, you can get up to speed with it, you can see if you like it without spending any money whatsoever. Unfortunately, with ACSS, yes, there's a money back guarantee, but you can't just try it without investing the cash to start off with, and not everybody maybe has that $300-400 to shell out to try it before they get their money back on it. So, swings and roundabouts, positives, negatives, whatever you kind of want to say. Each one of them has their benefits. Each one of them has their slightly different ways of working, but fundamentally, whichever one you go with, you're going to get the same end results. You're going to get a framework that makes working with bricks faster, more efficient, and easier. It's just personal choice which you go with. Okay. Rob, can we ask personal questions? I don't know. Who do you want to ask it of? I'm assuming me. If so, where do you see your primary source of income as a developer, i.e. consulting, client-side agency, affiliates, etc.? We're inspired by you. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. That's very nice to hear. For me, my primary source of income is working with brands alongside the YouTube side of things. I've been open and transparent about this, that I work with brands. I don't tell you whether you should buy them or not. I've always had the same thing. If I do any kind of sponsored video, I don't give an opinion. If I include a advertising slot in a video, then I take out the advertising slots that YouTube would normally put in there. So you have 30 seconds in a video that you have to put up with, which you can skip if you want to. Fundamentally, this is now my primary job. I still have clients that I work with, so I still make sort of residual income from hosting and things like that, and also working with clients on updating websites or, creating new websites for them. They've got version 2 to version 3 kind of thing. I make some cash off affiliate side of things. Again, these are products that 95% of the time I've bought myself before I've even spoken to the developers behind it. And that way, they're tools that I've actually paid for and generally continue to pay for. My hosting, I pay for my hosting. I get none of that free. Most of the plugins that I use, actually pretty much all the plugins that I actually use, like ACF and all those kind of things, I pay for all those. I still pay for my Elementor annual license. I pay for that. Thankfully, I'm grandfathered into the $99 with 1,000 websites. Consulting, I don't really do consulting. I don't like consulting. It's something that I thought about a long time ago when I became a freelancer and moved away from being a business partner in an agency. So I thought about that, and to be honest, it's not something that I'm really that interested in. So hopefully that's answered the question. But the one thing that I made sure that I did when I left the agency and became a freelancer was that I made sure that I had multiple revenue streams. There's nothing worse. I did plenty of years of the sort of like the feast and famine in an agency where you're either maxed out and you don't have enough time to breathe, or you sat there thinking, when's the next job coming in? Went through a period of that with recessions and things like that hit the country, and it sucked. So the one thing I wanted to make sure that I did was that I had multiple revenue streams that made my life a little easier, that if something went a little bit pear-shaped, then it didn't really matter. You could find something else to replace it. The other thing was that when we had the pandemic, I had two choices. I looked at the business, and because I've always set my clients up pretty much to be self-sustainable, I don't really want them to have to come back to me to make every change. That to me is how you become an incredibly busy person and making not huge amounts of money. Excuse me. I wanted to make sure that, like I said, they were self-sustainable. So when the pandemic hit, I had a choice. Do I try to change my business model there? Or do I double down and go all in on YouTube and push that further than it was at the time? And that's what I did. And for me, that was the right thing to do. Because, there's nothing worse than not knowing what the hell's going to happen with your business. So hopefully, Rob, that's answered some of your questions. Hopefully that's anyway. Okay, lots and lots of comments coming in. Now I'm going to keep this, like I say, to about another 10 minutes because I know Kevin's got his live stream starting at 4 p.m. That's UK time. But like I say, I'm on another stream at 5 o'clock anyway, so I want to have a little bit of space in between to catch up on things and get my head in the right space. What do you have? Marcel, absolutely. Without the basic knowledge of HTML, CSS, a framework can probably be quite overwhelming. Totally can. A framework is not a must-have, but once you get how classes, variables, and work, it's a no-brainer. Exactly. And this is why I kind of say that if you want to get the most out of something like Bricks, and I say Bricks because that's the class-first tool that I'm using. If you want to get the most out of it, then working with something like a framework is the most beneficial, most optimized way of working. Without a framework, you can still get a lot of it done, but I think you can create your own framework. You don't have to use a paid-for framework. Your framework can be as simple as just having scalable typography and spacing and some other things you want to use. It doesn't have to be this massive, all-encompassing tool set. But as Marcel says, if you have some basic understanding, and you'll develop this, you don't need to be a developer to work with Bricks. But the one thing that I've definitely found is that I'm going back to my CSS days, going back to my HTML days, and starting to implement that into my workflow, because you start to see how you can make things so much quicker and easier, even if you just got really, really basic understanding of just some of the fundamentals. You'll have a much better workflow by using that knowledge alongside a framework, alongside a tool like Bricks. But as we've already established, if you understand HTML, CSS, and maybe JavaScript, no matter what tools you use, whether that's Bricks, whether that's Breakdance, whether it's Oxygen, whether it's Elementor, all of those tools will benefit from your skills, knowledge, and understanding, because you can implement it to a varying different degrees with any of these tools. Oh, excuse me. Okay. What else do we have? Saluna. A bit off topic maybe. I've never worked with Bricks so far, but only watched some YouTube videos. Since Elementor's mobile menu is pretty disappointing, in my opinion, how good is the mobile menu in Bricks? It's okay. I still think, when we talk about like the mobile menu, the menu system and things like that, it can be kind of overwhelming. I do still think that, even though I don't use it, I do still think that the Breakdance way of working with mega menus is probably one of the nicest ways of working. They definitely did a great job on that side of things. But it's okay. I don't think Elementor or Bricks sort of mega menus and things like that, and mobile menu setups and things, are necessarily the best or smoothest experiences. I think there's still room for improvement there. But if you want to take a look at this, just go on to YouTube and do a search for Dave Foy. That's F-O-Y. Do a search for Dave Foy's channel, because he's done at least one video where he goes through how the whole menu system and the mega menu and all that kind of stuff, when they changed it probably about 8 months ago, how that all works. And that will give you a good idea, so you can visually see how it's all set up. Dave is a fantastic teacher. It'll give you a good top-down view of exactly how it works. Then you can sort of see what you think of it, and if you think it's something that would make you want to potentially look at Bricks as a replacement maybe for Elementor, or to go alongside Elementor. But check out Dave's videos, because I think that's going to give you a good understanding of how it works, and if you like it, then you can make a more informed decision for yourself. How are we doing, sir? Dave Dent? If you haven't checked out Dave Dent, his YouTube channel, please do, because he's doing some great videos on lots of WordPress topics. So go and check his video out. Hit that subscribe button. Give some videos a like. Check out what he's doing on there, because it's lovely to have lots more creators with lots of different takes on different tools. And this is one of the things that I really like about YouTube and the WordPress ecosystem, is that there are lots of tutors with different opinions, different methods, different approaches, giving different ideas to how you can build things with Bricks, with Elementor, with Breakdance, all these tools. So go and check his channel out. Just do a search for, I'm pretty sure it's Dave Dent. Just do a search for that. I'm sure you'll come across it. I'll have to find it myself a little later and just share the link in the description down below once I put this to the replay thing. But go and check his channel out and take a look at some of the great videos he's doing over there. And just say hello. Okay. I wish there was a native way to use Bricks alongside Gutenberg, especially for blog posts. Being able to make Bricks elements and having them show inside the WP post that makes it scalable. You can use Gutenberg alongside Bricks. You can use Gutenberg to be the editor inside the content area of your Bricks posts and your pages if you want to, or any custom post types. I did a video on this last week. I would say when components come out, which is probably going to come out in the next version, there's a potential there for that to kind of open up more opportunities. So I think keep an eye on it, but you can, at this point in time, use Gutenberg inside Bricks templates, and you can still use ACF data or any other dynamic data. You can pull in your titles, your featured images, all that information, but give the end user access to the physical content inside that template to use Gutenberg. And then you can use another plugin or do it manually and strip out all the Gutenberg features you don't want. But obviously you could also then create custom patterns you want to use inside there, which they could use inside your designs and get full control over that. I think these are all things we're going to see expand upon over the coming month and years and so on. And this is something that I know I want to keep going back to and revisit and see in other ways in which we can implement Gutenberg into the workflow. And that makes it easier then to hand things off to the client, where you don't have them being totally intimidated by looking at Bricks and thinking, oh my God, or as a designer, the last thing you want is to hand that over and they start screwing up your perfectly crafted website. Yeah, we've all been there. We've all lived that dream. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to... Sorry, Daniel, $69, not $300 or $400. That's if you wanted the lifetime for 100 sites was about $400. I don't know if that's still going or not, Daniel, but that was up on there until very recently. Let me just have a little look a second before I disappear. But it was available on lifetime for 100 sites. Automatic CSS. Let's have a little look. Automatic CSS. Plans and pricing. Bear with me. I shall get this info up for you now. Plans and pricing. There we go. Let's pop that off there. There we go. You can see we've got the lifetime at $399 for 100 sites. So there is that option there if you want it. But like I say, that's if you want $400 to go out of your account straight away. Like I say, there is a money back guarantee on it, but that's a lifetime license for 100 sites. So there is that available. So that is the price on it, Daniel. So hopefully that's cleared up any confusion that might have come up. Okay, so like I say, I'm going to call it a day there. Like I say, I'm conscious of the fact that, you know, Kevin's going to be online, and like I say, I've got another live stream to do myself in another hour. Andy, thank you very much. I hope I do have a calming voice in the WordPress builder world, because there's enough bloody drama going on in a lot of these groups to make you move away from something like WordPress to something else that has a lot less drama in it. So thank you very much, Andy. I'm glad that you find my voice a calming voice. Anyway, thank you very much for joining in. Remember, tomorrow I'll be doing the live stream at 3 p.m. GMT, whatever time that is for you. So that's British time with Thomas from Bricks tomorrow. And we're going to have a great conversation about bricks and all the kind of things that go with it. So I'd love you to join in. If you are available and you can hop on, please do get your comments into the questions and the so-and-so in the chat. And I'll see how many of those I can ask Thomas during our live stream. But thank you very much for joining me this afternoon. If you're going over to Kevin Geary's now, enjoy that. And if you're available at 5 p.m. this afternoon and you want to join into my other live stream with Matt Medeiros, as soon as I find out the information, I'll put some links up and you can check that out on the Facebook page and also over on my Twitter account. But have a fantastic afternoon wherever you are. Look after yourself, and I'm sure I'll see you all very, very soon. If not, tomorrow if you're joining in. Take care, everybody. Have a fantastic afternoon.